excited to be here with you all this morning. My name is Lisa Sauer. I'm a registered nurse on the Sunshine Coast of Australia. I was introduced to LifeVantage through my beautiful younger sister. She came to me and she said that basically she had a product she wanted me to check out. Now, I had a look at that product and it said it protected against oxidative stress, and I went, huh? I'd never heard of oxidative stress, wasn't part of my nursing degree, so I didn't understand why high levels are really bad for the body and why protection was essential. But so she just loved on me and she sent me research papers over the course of 6 months. That's how stubborn I was. But she was sending me research from PubMed. Now, I knew PubMed was valid and credible because I used it throughout my degree. At the end of 6 months, I had a pile of emails from her, and I decided to get to work and look into it. After looking into it, I first started with what was oxidative stress, and I tell you, if you're on the call this morning and you have no idea what oxidative stress is, you definitely need to go looking into that. When you look at what oxidative stress is, which is basically cellular damage, you realize that high levels of oxidative stress are literally related to everything you do not want in the body. So when I realized this, and I realized that the modern world around us is creating more of that, I certainly delved deep into the research and was blown away by what backed this product. So I came in on the face of the product into the business, and it's been 3.5 years. And if I could just download 10 seconds worth of what I've seen in that time into your heads, if you could see the positive difference this has made to other people's lives, you would all 100% be involved in the business in one way or another, whether it's a customer or whether a distributor. That's a big call, but what we've got is pretty powerful. So enough about me. I'm really excited this morning to be spending some time with our beautiful guest, and that's Victoria Booth. Now, Victoria has an amazing bio. I'm just going to read that out for you guys now. Victoria began her career in healthcare as a high school student, working summers as a nursing assistant. She earned her bachelorate in nursing from West Virginia University and later a master's degree in nursing from the University of Phoenix. In 2001, she was honoured with Nurseweek Nursing Excellence Award in Innovation for her work in monitoring suicidal patients in the medical milieu. As a military wife, she practiced nursing in various locations across the United States. Her primary areas of focus included maternal child health and psychiatric nursing. She retired from hospital nursing as Director of Behavioral Health at Banner Thunderbird Medical Center in Glendale, Arizona. Upon retiring, she became a home-based business owner in the health and wellness industry. Her passion is being a pioneer in the science of nutrigenomics and educating others about category-creating discoveries that affect the human genome. Victoria brings more than 25 years of clinical experience and knowledge and leadership skills from her psychiatric nursing practice. Becoming an entrepreneur has solidified her mission to make a personal connection, develop interpersonal relationships, and offer viable solutions to the stress-related issues that we are all now currently experiencing. Science and research reveal that conditions associated with stress and aging are on the rise. With paradigms shifting in light of new discoveries, education is paramount in learning reliable and scientifically validated information. Victoria is honoured to dish out the cookies and cream on breakthrough discoveries through education and service and guiding others to look, feel, perform better now and particularly during the aging process. Wow, Victoria, that is an amazing bio, and thank you so much for being with us here this morning. I'll just get you to unmute your line if that's all right, and we'll bring you onto the call.
There you go. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
I can hear you perfectly. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh my goodness, it's my absolute pleasure, and the only thing that would be better if I was right there with you. So thank you. I'm honored to be on the call.
Oh,
thanks for having me.
Awesome. No, Annie, we love having you. Now, you've got an amazing background, as we've just read out. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to the business, who introduced you and how that happened?
Well, actually, Maria Williams, who we all know and love dearly, introduced me to LifeVantage. And I was in a networking group that she had, and I was established in this group, and she came in as a new person in the group. So, you know, what really is tremendous, I think, is that, you know, the plan is kind of set out for us, and it's circumstances circumstances that, kind of come without really our knowledge. So her husband had been laid off. They were in Boston. She moved to Phoenix. There's 6 million people in the Phoenix metro area, and she is in the networking group that I was in. So what a blessing. And that's how I was introduced to LifeVantage.
Oh, wow. And so once you were introduced through Maria, and obviously she would have showed you, the ABC and things like that. And so once you were introduced, what were your first impressions? So what intrigued you about that, and what had you delving deeper into the science behind it?
So I can tell you that coming from a Western medicine background, and the fact that this was a supplement, although I thought the ABC was very intriguing, there were a number of things that had to be in place for me to even consider it. So the first thing I saw was that, it was a publicly traded company. And I thought, well, that's good, because there's so many companies out there that, they're here today and gone tomorrow. And at that time that I was introduced was late 2010. And it took me a while to decide to enter into this. So this was early 2011. So at that point, the company was already 8 years old. So that was good. The next thing that I looked at, because to me, what spoke to me were the products. At the time, I had retired from nursing. Although I had such a stressful job, it was really not a retirement at that point, because I still needed to be working. And so, I was looking for something else. And so this was an answer to my prayers, but at the time I really didn't realize it, because again, it was that supplement thing. So I had to keep checking this out. So the next thing that really impressed me was the fact that the 7th study had just been published at that time, and that was the one in the Circulation Journal. And so Protandim, is the only branded supplement ever to have been published in the Circulation Journal. So that made me really sit up and take notice. And over the 6 months I was looking at this, I decided I needed to get out of my way and really look at this seriously. Because when I saw the science, that was just probably the most amazing piece to this, and that it was done by third party, and that it was funded by major institutions in the United States. So one of my things about these kinds of things was that they do in-house research, and they can tweak in-house research any way they want. And so I wanted no part of that. And so these studies were just over the moon for me. They really made a big difference in my thoughts about this company.
That is brilliant, and I can completely relate with you. And so I wanted to sort of have a little bit of a chat and banter with you this morning, because from a nurse to a nurse, I know the science was amazing. I know that the products were amazing. And, when you're first looking at this, you don't have the benefit of hindsight. So now that we're so many years forward, we know we've got that posture, and the belief is through the roof. But when you're very first looking at it, especially if you're a healthcare professional or a professional, you can see that science, and you can sort of see all that amazing information, but then you find out it's in network marketing. And I don't know, did you have any experience with network marketing prior to being introduced to this?
Well, I had very little, and what I did was kind of a direct sales, kind of a party plan kind of thing. So, I did in a limited fashion. And there were 2 companies that I was involved with, one a party plan, and the other one was a direct, it was a service. And so, but what I saw in that company, I really didn't like. And that was one of the things they did was, if you weren't in a specific line, then nobody wanted to help you. So that really kind of turned me off. And so I was very on the fence about all of this, but, I kept an open mind, because I was at the point when I saw this, I was really looking to go back into nursing, because after, all those decades, that's all I knew. That's all I've ever done is nursing. And so luckily I didn't find a job that I liked, and this, presented itself. But for those of us who have been trading time for dollars our entire career, this kind of work is, something that most people don't entertain, and it needs to grow on you, I think. And to be able to think that maybe I can do this. And once you learn what you need to do, and I had wonderful mentors, and I think that makes a big difference too. A lot of companies kind of bring you on and then you never see anybody again. But with this company, we love on people for as long as they need it. And we teach duplication very well. We help everyone. And so another defining factor about this company as opposed to other companies is, and people may not know yet about, the levels in the company, but we have a global bonus. And once you get to the 7th level in this company, all the work that has been done in this company before us and all the work that's done, by people in different lines, when you share in this global pool, you're benefiting from all of that work. So I think it was just brilliant, whoever decided to do this. So everybody in this company is, we all call each other cousins, because, we all work together. There's no line differentiation. We just all work together, which I think is fabulous. And I can tell you in nursing, I didn't find that all the time.
I can back that one up too. For a caring profession, it can sometimes be not so caring.
Yes.
No, that's brilliant. And, and I sort of share that same viewpoint. I didn't have any network marketing experience at all, but at the same time, when once I was sort of introduced and I understood that this was a product for 5 years before it was put into network marketing, so it wasn't like your traditional way that network marketing companies operate. It literally had a story that needed to be told. And once you understand that, you can kind of go, yeah, wow, awesome. Let's get past the network marketing thing and let's get into how freaking exciting it is that we can actually share this and benefit, our friends and family can benefit from the health, but also financially from it. So that's pretty cool too. So how long have you been with LifeVantage now?
I've been with LifeVantage over 7 years now. Yes.
Wow, awesome. So we know that we've got sort of people in society these days, and it's really becoming quite common occurrence to have people complaining of disturbed sleep, of being anxious or depressed or having low energy or aching joints or just that general feeling of not feeling well. That's becoming quite common. Yes. Do you believe that the way we're living our life these days is contributing to that?
Absolutely. I think stress levels now are so much higher than they've ever been in the past. I sometimes I feel like a dinosaur because I can remember the days when, people didn't call you when you were during your dinner hour in the evening. We didn't have answering machines and none of those kinds of things. So even electronically, what our bodies are exposed to from electromagnetic fields is a way out of proportion. And then I think about these poor babies in utero, and moms are holding computers on their laps or phones. And so even unborns are being exposed to all of this. So I think, we really can't get away from it. Pollutants in the air, the food that we're eating. There's a lot of fast food out there, a lot of processed food, a lot of genetically modified food, things that we didn't have, 50, 60, 70 years ago. So we are being bombarded, pesticides, herbicides, food dyes, all of these kinds of things are affecting us. And so we really do need to find a solution that we know will work, that are going to help us now and in the aging process.
Yeah, and you're so right. And by far and large, that Wi-Fi radiation and the EMF exposure, that really is quite concerning because, like you said, it is unborns as well as children as well as adults who are affected. I mean, you can't go to a shopping centre or a school or even your home without having Wi-Fi on 24/7 these days. So it's kind of like something we take for granted in some ways, but yet it has a massive effect on the body. So we know that all of those sorts of things increase the free radicals, and the excess free radicals increase the cellular damage. And it's
Correct.
a no-brainer that like increased cellular damage, if those are the building blocks for the body, if they're damaged and the body's trying to use them to rebuild and restructure, then it's going to result in a weakened state or a non-functioning state. So that's a no-brainer. I think you don't have to be a health professional to understand that that's necessarily the case. But what's exciting for us inside of LifeVantage is to be partnering with a company that's at the forefront of nutrigenomics. So, that activation of the NRF2 pathway, do you want to give me just a little rundown on how excited you get about that and about the fact that it's natural?
Absolutely. Like I said, I started in nursing many decades ago, and I've seen the evolution of drugs. And when I look at the side effects of drugs, they're just horrendous. So we have something that's all natural, that's activating pathways in the body. So when you're looking at this, it's not about supplementation, it's about activation. As these pathways are being discovered, the company is amazing with looking at the science behind what we have our hands on. So even this NRF2 business, we're probably 15 years at least well in advance of anybody out there that is, doing or looking at NRF2 activation. And there's a clinical study that proves that oxidative stress is reduced by 40% and up to 70% with continued use. And the 40% is within that 30 days. So our FDA, like your TDA, the FDA here, okays us being able to say that. So we do have proof that what we have our hands on, is actually doing the job. And when you think that this is the most powerful NRF2 activator in the world, I mean, that's huge. And there's people independently, like Washington State University did a study that they published in 2016. And what they said was that this whole NRF2 pathway discovery, that this is the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventive in the history of medicine. So if you know that medicine's over, 2,400 years old when Hippocrates was doing his thing and started all of this, I mean, that's an incredible statement. So the Western medicine is behind the times, and they haven't gotten it yet, but they will, because people are going to demand a solution that's not going to jeopardize their bodies with these drugs that are really, really, they're wreaking havoc and then causing more problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm very excited.
Oh, I know, I get it. And that's the same frustration I felt being inside of the healthcare system. You go into nursing because your sole purpose and your absolute desire is to help people live their healthiest lives. And yet, when you come out the other side of your nursing degree, what you find is that you're in a clinical setting where you're dealing with people who are either chronically or acutely unwell. And so your opportunity to help them or educate them on living their healthiest lives is limited to the small amount of time that you've got with them, where in that time you tend to throw Band-Aid solutions at whatever the symptom is. And so I think that that's a very exciting a position for us to be in, to be able to take something that's natural, that we know has no adverse effect on the body, doesn't put the same strain on the liver and the kidneys as what some of those pharmaceuticals can do, to be able to take that and provide people with some education and then help them live their healthiest lives. That's pretty exciting. And that would be, I feel very fulfilled doing that from a nursing point of view. So what about yourself?
Absolutely. And, I can tell you honestly that I feel like I've helped more people with this in a very significant way than I did in all those decades in nursing. My experience, most of my experience has been in behavioral health, and it's the revolving door syndrome. And so, it's about looking at medications, about psychotropics that have tons of side effects, looking to see where the patient is. Are they still working, trying new medications, a new cocktail, and it's over and over and over. And with time, these people tend to decompensate over time. So it's very disheartening to think you're trying to help people, but you're watching them debilitate over the years. And, and I can tell you that even in my parents, they're in their late 80s. But when I look at their peers and I look at them, the difference is remarkable. Even if they do get something, that's going around, their recovery time is like minuscule compared to their peers who get sick and then end up in the hospital as a result of the same illness that my mom and dad are, working their way through, and they, don't need any hospitalization, rarely drugs to combat what's going on. So, if you think you can protect yourself, I mean, just that thought alone, and especially young people now, when they start on this, I can't even imagine what their aging process is going to look like. Because I can tell you at this point, I feel half my age. After 7 years, I'm doing CrossFit 4 times a week, and I keep up with the best of them. I modify a little bit, but I've got 30-year-olds that are dying next to me, and I'm doing the workout just like they are and powering through it. So it's been fabulous.
And that's really important, isn't it? That vitality.
Oh my.
It's not just an extension of life, it's the vitality of life. It's that living life with a high quality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, this isn't just the one magic bullet, because you've got to get enough rest, and luckily that's part of taking this, is that you have improved sleep, your feeling of well-being, and more energy. So with those 3 things going on, it's a cascade effect with, and again, I'll do the little disclaimer, doesn't cure, treat, prevent, mitigate anything. But, I have a cousin who, is overweight. And as she had more energy, she started doing more activity, and she naturally started losing weight. So, sleep is important, eating a nutritionally sound diet, taking this product, staying active. Because I can tell you, we know about the morbidity and the mortality in the, geriatric generation with falls and those kinds of things. So if you can exercise, keep your core strong, and, and keep active, you're way ahead of the game.
Ah, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Okay, so we touched on a little bit of the nutrigenomics, which is obviously what our company very proudly stands at the forefront of. And, for those of you who don't know, nutrigenomics is the using, naturally occurring compounds and nutrition to positively benefit and affect the body. But the company is very much heading in the direction of biohacking, which is taking the information from nutrigenomics and being able to apply that specifically in the body. But would you like to give an explanation of what you take biohacking to mean, and how, what the direction of the company is, and sort of if that excites you and how you're feeling about that?
Absolutely. Well, biohacking, people usually think of a computer, right? When you hack a computer. So our body is a large system. So biohacking is actually, working with your genetic makeup so that your genes are expressed in a different way. So, epigenetics, meaning above genetics. I mean, we have a lot of control of our genes, believe it or not. Only a few % of our genes are coded, things like our eye color, our hair color, those kinds of things. But we have control about what we put in our mouths and what activity we take. So this is by virtue of the ingredients and the products that LifeVantage has. It's biohacking your genetic makeup. So it's upregulating these survival genes and downregulating genes that contribute to fibrosis and inflammation. So that's huge. And I just want to put a plug in for our senior VP of Research and Development, Natalie Chevreau, who is absolutely brilliant. And she's another big reason about why I'm so excited about this company, because what she looks at is that whole biohacking process. So how can we use the least amount of products to affect our body in the biggest way? So that's huge. So this is an example. We had a naturopath that came to a presentation one evening, and she was hearing about the products that we have in the USA. And she said, oh my goodness, she said, I take sometimes 20 to 30 pills, her supplements. And she said, I can take this little handful of pills that's going to do more than my 20 or 30 products that I'm taking on a daily basis. So that's huge. And, and we know as nurses, compliance is a big issue. And if I know that I'm just going to have to take this little bit of something once a day, as opposed to 3 and 4 times a day, and I have to worry about when I'm eating or not eating and what time of the day it is, and on and on and on, people tend to fall off. So what we're seeing is a lot of people are remaining compliant because they look better, they feel better, and they perform better. So Natalie is a brilliant lady. She actually is on an advisory capacity to our FDA investigations as a scientist. So she knows what she's doing. So my confidence in her and those that are at the corporate level is beyond. It's just, they're amazing people with wonderful experience and great values on top of all of it.
Absolutely. So, okay, so in summary and wrapping up, and I just so much appreciate the time that you've given us this morning. But in wrapping up, if you to look back over the time that you've been with LifeVantage and looking at your working with the people that you know in your customer base and what you've seen, and obviously we don't claim to treat, prevent, cure, or mitigate, but you and I both know that when we activate the body, our bodies are so amazing and we can heal ourselves when we're given the right tools. In my opinion, this is the solution to a problem the world doesn't realize it's got. That's a huge statement. But would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Medicine is way behind science, and we've seen it over and over and over. I mean, if you look at the history of penicillin, it was around 13 years before they actually integrated it into using it on patients. So, this will at some point, just like in the US, we have our bleach. The first bleach that came out was Clorox. So people ask for Clorox, they don't ask for bleach, or they asked for Kleenex, which was the first tissues that came out. And so people are going to ask, what Protandim are you taking? Because basically we have the very first NRF2 activator in the world that does what it says it does. So to me, this is just a no-brainer. In the 60s, nobody knew what cholesterol was, let alone your LDLs or your HDLs. And now you can probably turn to, 8 of 10 people on the street they know their blood levels of their cholesterol and their lipid panels. So we're going to get there. It's just probably going to take a little bit of time. But I would just tell people, just get out of your way. You are hearing it from people who know, and we've been around this for quite some time. We have a large population of people with healthcare licenses in this company because they're blown away by the science. And we don't want to attach our licenses to anything that is bogus or snake oil. So this is the real deal, people.
Yes, so true. And that's what it comes down to. And I think once you move past the science, once you move into the business, and once you look at, just like you just said, the sheer number of people who are involved in healthcare or professions that are joining the business at a rapid rate of knots, because what we've got is so real. It's so credible. And like I said before, 3.5 years I've been involved, and to look back, and I can smile with a smile from ear to ear with the number of people that just come instantly to mind, that their lives were so not, I'm trying to put this compliantly, they were not living their healthiest lives. In fact, they were on a crash course for just misery and the rest. And their lives now, with NRF2 activation and their bodies being the amazing healing vessels that they are completely different and changed for the better. And do you know, that just makes your heart sing when you can offer that hope to people. So I'm really excited for everybody who's involved in LifeVantage. I'm excited for all of us, whether we're health professionals or not, to be able to share something this powerful and to be in at this time. And we're pioneers, But as you just said, look at all of the things in history that weren't known at the time that we now know and accept as fact. And LifeVantage nerve to activation, that is just going to be exactly the same thing as cholesterol and as those other things. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
I know it's the best decision that I ever made during the business. What about for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the freedom piece to this is the biggest thing. When I was working in my last position, I had zero freedom. It was a salaried position. I was working 50 to 60 hours a week. I was stressed out beyond belief. I would wake up in the middle of the night and write lists for the next day for work. And the weekend, I would get everything together and prepare for another week. And so, it was like living in a jail for 4+ years. And so being free, like Sean Poe says, being a free range human, I mean, there is nothing, absolutely nothing to compare to this. So I know, if we're chatting with people in healthcare, and that doesn't exclude anyone else that's gone to school for a number of years for their profession. But, I can tell you, my family, there were some that were like really excited that I found something I loved, and others that thought I was out of my mind, because I got my master's degree later in life. And they said, "What are you doing? You just got your master's degree. You have this great, really wonderful job." And it was, yeah, it's a wonderful job that I'm letting pretty much it kill me. So, there was a rough beginning for me, and sometimes there is for a lot of people when they start this business. But I had true belief in what I had my hands on, and faith that, that this would grow. And it's grown hugely, because here I am in Arizona. And this was introduced to someone in Ohio with a family member who was living in Australia. So thanks to all of you in Australia. I love all of you and enjoyed my visits. And actually, Lisa was on my visit list when I came to Australia. So Katrina brought me over, and we had some good times talking about this business. But anyway, sometimes you just never know how wonderful things can be. And so unless you take a little leap to faith or of faith, you're not going to know. So, if you think about what could possibly happen, you just never know. So don't exclude yourself just because you've never done this before, because sometimes the best things are things that you have no idea about. And I was one of those kinds of people, because this was a third business that I thought I must be out of my mind to even consider doing this. And so the other two businesses went away very quickly, and I proceeded to do this full force, and it's just been wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. Absolutely loved hearing from you and spending some time this morning, Victoria. And so for anybody who's listening to this live or listening to the recording, if you are thinking about the business and you're just not sure about that next leap, I hope this has helped solidify from two nurses our experience in terms of, how we were introduced, sort of our journey this far. And I can tell you right now, we're both in agreement. Best decision we've ever made. Learned so much from both the product side of it and from the empowerment, leadership, and skills side of it that you get from being in the business. And definitely do it. Don't wait.
Absolutely. Go for it.
Cool. Have a great day. Thank you all for being on the call.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Lisa.